By every measure, social media is a risky behavior, like sex or drugs or alcohol. We judge a risky behavior as something where when you participate, you expose yourself to potential harm. That harm is pretty easy to see with things like alcohol and drugs because they've been around forever. But with social media, we know for sure now that you expose yourself to potential harm by being here. There, though, the harm is things like stress, anxiety, depression, traumatic imagery, or harassment, and so on. So we know for sure that it's a risky behavior. Now, the difference in difficulty with this risky behavior versus others, particularly for at-risk groups like teenagers, is that they are already at a phase of life, pretty normally in social psychology, where you go outside the home to compare yourself as a means of socialization. The other thing they don't necessarily want to hear is that their brains quite literally are not fully developed yet. So you have these two things paired with the fact that we are at a time of history, really, where parents and educators largely didn't grow up with social media. They didn't go through puberty with this language, really. So even if they're trying to understand, it might be truly hard to feel why this kid is so upset that this person is not following them back or that they didn't get a like on their photo. You might want to say things like, get your head out of your phone, which is entirely unhelpful when you're telling an addict to just put down the drink. So we have this risky behavior with no social supports. There's no talk for this kind of thing. And even after I've said all this, and like I said in my TED Talk, the truth is I still like social media. I do. And I don't think it's going anywhere. So I don't think that abstinence is an option. But I do believe that we can practice what I call safe social. And there are 4 steps towards practicing safe social. Now, the first step towards practicing safe social is building awareness or making sure that we're speaking the same language, just the same as you see awareness campaigns for every other risky behavior. Do you understand what this teenager is saying to you when they said they just got a mean DM? Do you even know what a DM means? So this sort of thing. Do you really speak the language? And if you don't, then, well, I'm putting some pressure on you to go learn it. Maybe you learn this language like we learn every other language. You can immerse yourself. Maybe you go get accounts yourself. You can talk to people who speak the language unjudgmentally and ask them about what it's like and why they use it and that sort of thing. Maybe you can go take a formal class at somewhere like Ryerson University or an informal class at something like on something like Skillshare. So you can learn the language, and this is incredibly important before we can move on to the next 3 steps. The second step in practicing safe social is moderating your consumption. I am the first person to admit that I like a good drink, but just like every other risky behavior, too much of a good thing can go very dark very fast. It's the same with social media. In fact, it might even be more widespread and longer term than we even know yet. So when you moderate your consumption, you ask yourself questions like, do I actually like this? Or am I just doing this because it's normal and because everybody else is doing it? Was I peer pressured onto these networks? In fact, most of my participants right now said they joined because a friend had it. Do I actually like what I'm drinking, what I'm consuming, or does it taste nasty and I'm doing it anyway? Or do you make fun of people that abstain from this? Do you say things like, oh, you're not on Instagram? Oh my God, or you don't drink? How weird. Like, that's unhelpful. And when you start asking yourself these questions about moderating your consumption, well, then you can go moderate it. Sometimes you might find that, you need to turn off the notifications because it's just getting too much for you, or you find you're wasting too much time. Sometimes you need to take the alcohol out of the house and delete the accounts for a bit. Sometimes you need a rehab and you need to go detox and figure yourself out offline, which kind of leads me to the third step of practicing safe social, which is building the offline soft skills. This is the golden key. Now, I know I'm a little bit biased because I own a soft skills training company, but this is actually really what gave me the lens to see that this is the key. When I first went into my master's research about this, I thought I would actually find a more direct correlation between time spent on social media and the rising levels of anxiety and depression. And what I actually found was no consistency in the research. Some people said, yeah, there is a correlation. Some people found no correlation at all, and some people even found the opposite, that time on social media improved the mental health of their participants. So that tells me that it's not really about the networks themselves, but it's more about who you are going into the networks. However that will be amplified online, and that's being dramatically supported by my current research actually interviewing people. So building these offline soft skills, that's things like self-awareness, so you can recognize when you are in flux. Self-confidence is super key. Resilience, so that when something happens, you can bounce back and thrive. Mindfulness, so that you don't find yourself an hour later upset because you wasted an hour on Instagram and have no idea what you looked at. Or even things like time management. These soft skills are so key. And the fourth and very important step in practicing safe social is modeling good behavior. And now more than ever, I think I'm talking to the adults and the influencers watching this video. It's going to be very hard to tell your kids to get their head out of their phone if you've been on your phone the whole dinner. It's going to be very hard to train for safe social if you yourself have been documenting their life on social media since they were 2 years old. They don't know anything else. And, are you complaining and spreading hate and negativity on social media and then also complaining that it's a toxic place? We are writing the history books right now. Like, whatever it's going to say in 50 years about the impact of social media on youth, on a generation, we're writing that right now. And that's when people say things like kids these days, I think parents these days, you have this risky behavior, again, with likely more dramatic, more long-term, and more widespread effects than any other risky behavior. And what are we doing about it? Well, I'm saying that we need to not necessarily get rid of it. That's not going to work, but we do need to practice safe social.